Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Imagine a hospital where your first prescription isn't a pill, but a plunge into a sacred spring, where engineering marvels worthy of a modern city were built not for commerce, but for spiritual and physical cleansing. In the heart of the ancient world, nestled in serene valleys, lay sanctuaries that were masterpieces of faith and hydraulics. These were the great healing centers of the Greco-Roman world. Sophisticated complexes we now call hydraulic sanctuaries, where faith, medicine, and engineering converged to harness the life-giving power of water. In the ancient mind, water was a direct conduit to the divine. The gushing of a natural spring was a miracle, a place where the boundary between mortals and gods was thin. This reverence was woven into their myths. The Titans Oceanus and Tethys were parents to all rivers, and nymphs called naiads were believed to protect every freshwater source. Naturally, these places were considered sacred, imbued with divine power. This belief was the cornerstone of ancient medicine. Illness was often seen as a form of spiritual impurity, and so purification was the first step to recovery. Before a patient could even ask the gods for healing, they had to cleanse themselves in sacred waters. This is why the Asklepieia, the sanctuaries dedicated to the god of medicine Asklepieus, were almost always built near natural springs. The Roman architect Vitruvius even wrote in the 1st century BCE that temples for healing gods must be built in very healthy neighborhoods with the suitable springs of water. It was a non-negotiable prerequisite. At the heart of this sacred healthcare network was Asklepieus. Originally a mortal physician, son of Apollo, his skill was so legendary he could supposedly raise the dead. This alarmed Zeus, who struck him down with a thunderbolt, only for Asklepieus to be deified and worshipped as the god of medicine. By the 5th century BC, over 300 of his sanctuaries, or Asklepieia, had sprung up across the Greek world, forming a network of public hospitals and medical schools. Pilgrims flocked to them, seeking cures. The core healing ritual was called incubation, or temple sleep. After extensive purification rites, patients would sleep inside a sacred building called the abaton, hoping Asklepieus would visit their dreams to reveal a cure or perform a miracle. The purification with sacred water was the mandatory ticket to this divine encounter. The priest's interpretation of these dreams often led to further prescriptions involving water, like specific bathing regimens or drinking from certain fountains. Water was there at every step of the journey. So what was it like to be a pilgrim in the 4th century BC, journeying to the famed Asklepieon at Epidaurus? Your arrival didn't mean immediate access to the inner sanctum. First, purification. At fountains near the entrance, you would wash your hands, face, and feet, symbolically shedding the grime of the outside world. This might be followed by days of special diets and further bathing, perhaps in cold water pools for hydrotherapy. This wasn't just hygiene, it was a spiritual preparation, making oneself worthy of the god's attention. Once purified, you could participate in the sanctuary's life, making offerings, dedicating terracotta models of your afflicted body part, and even attending the theater, which itself was considered therapeutic. The climax was the incubation. After one final ritual bath, you entered the abaton to await a dream from Asklepieus. Inscriptions from Epidaurus called Iamata, or cures, tell of incredible healings. One man, blind in one eye, dreamt the god boiled a drug and poured it in his eye. Upon waking, his sight was restored. Another tells of a woman pregnant for 5 years, who, after sleeping in the sanctuary, gave birth to a son who could immediately walk and wash himself. Whether literal truth or powerful testimony of faith, these stories reveal the profound belief in the healing power of the sanctuary. But all this ritual, all this faith, relied on a constant, massive supply of clean, fresh water. And that wasn't left to chance. It required engineering genius. The Greeks and Romans were masters of hydraulics, and the Asklepieia are prime examples. Their water management systems were designed to capture, transport, store, and distribute water across vast complexes. The primary tool was the aqueduct. Many of these were subterranean, using a cut-and-cover technique where a trench was dug, a channel was built inside it, and then it was buried. This protected the water from contamination and evaporation. The channels were lined with waterproof hydraulic mortar, and pipes were made from terracotta, stone, or, in the Roman era, lead. To cross valleys, engineers built magnificent arched bridges, like the famous Pont du Gard. For trickier landscapes, they used inverted siphons, a system of pipes that used water pressure to push water down one side of a valley and up the other, a concept that shows a sophisticated understanding of physics. The Asklepieia at Epidaurus, the most famous of them all, had a particularly elaborate system. It was supplied by a spring on nearby Mount Kynortian. An underground aqueduct carried the water to a cistern, and a stone conduit then channeled it into the sanctuary, branching out to supply a sacred fountain for purification, an elegant Doric fountain for drinking, and extensive bathhouses. The later Roman bath complex, built in the 2nd century AD, was a massive structure with multiple halls and pools, fed by its own dedicated aqueduct. Equally impressive was the Asklepieia of Pergamon. Founded around a sacred spring that still flows today, it attracted visitors like the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Its standout feature was a 70-meter-long underground vaulted tunnel, a cryptoporticus, which connected a circular treatment center to sacred pools in the sanctuary's courtyard. This allowed patients to move between different therapeutic areas shielded from the elements. The orator Aelius Aristides, who spent 2 years there as a patient, wrote in his sacred tales that his dream cures often involved water, including prescriptions for bathing in cold rivers. On the island of Kos, the birthplace of Hippocrates, the father of medicine, the Asklepieia was supplied by 2 springs, the iron-rich Coquinonero spring and the Varina spring. A network of clay pipes channeled these sacred waters to temples, treatment rooms, and large stone troughs used for ritual cleansing. Later, in the Roman period, the physician to Emperor Claudius, Gaius Tertinius Xenophon, funded a massive expansion, adding a large complex of thermal baths and fountains. And we are still finding more. Near the ancient city of Tyana, in modern-day Turkey, archaeologists recently re-identified a monumental Roman pool. Once thought to be purely utilitarian, the discovery of a marble altar with snake motifs, the symbol of Asklepieia, proved it was a sacred healing sanctuary. It's a stunning reminder that this fusion of water, faith, and engineering was a widespread and enduring tradition. A key architectural feature that brought beauty to this engineering was the nymphaeum. Originally, these were natural grottos, considered the sacred homes of water nymphs. Over time, these caves were enhanced and eventually replaced by monumental artificial structures. The Romans, with their love of grand architecture, created spectacular semicircular nymphea adorned with statues and mosaics, featuring cascading water displays. Within a healing sanctuary, a nymphaeum was the architectural embodiment of the sacred spring, the beautiful public face of the complex hydraulic system working behind the scenes. But while these practices were rooted in religion, they also paved the way for scientific medicine. The priests of Asclepius were also observers, and over time a more empirical approach began to supplement the supernatural. The use of water is the perfect example. While initially a religious act, the therapeutic benefits of hydrotherapy became recognized and systematically applied. Hippocrates himself, the 5th century BC physician from Kos, is considered the father of both scientific medicine and hydrotherapy. He wrote extensively on the importance of water for health and prescribed bathing for various illnesses. The Greeks and Romans developed a sophisticated understanding of its properties. Cold water was used to reduce inflammation and ease muscle pain, while warm baths were for relaxation. The Roman physician Asklepieia of Bithynia was a major proponent, further developing its use in medical treatment. The great Roman thermae, or public baths, are a testament to how central water became to public health and hygiene. The hydraulic sanctuaries were a crucial link in the evolution of medicine, a place where belief in water's divine power gradually gave way to a scientific understanding of its therapeutic benefits. The ruins of Epidaurus, Pergamon, and Kos still inspire awe, not just for their beauty, but for the advanced, holistic approach to healing they represent. The practices of hydrotherapy refined in these sanctuaries are a staple of modern wellness. The principle of creating a calming, restorative environment with access to nature and clean water is being rediscovered in modern hospital design. The story of these sacred centers is a powerful reminder of the human quest for healing and our timeless recognition of the life-giving, soul-soothing power of water.